were ignored completely.
Okay,
so
well, let me interrupt you again, Professor, and bring in Alice. The needs of Muslims haven't been properly addressed over many, many decades. And whenever a religious group is isolated like that, perhaps it's not surprising that the response is this way. Do you agree with the professor's analysis?
Well, my position is that Nigeria does not have, if we may, I use the word Nigeria does not have religious problem. The problem that Nigeria has is the fact that when the British, in fact, I'm now looking at the colonization of Africa, of Nigeria. And I've realized that Britain, in fact, did not colonize the entire geographical, geopolitical area that we now know as Nigeria. That's a different story entirely. What we have to say that the Muslims have been ignored, I think, is being insensitive to the needs of the other people. Particularly, in fact, it's difficult to pinpoint any section of that whole area that is doing better, because it's an elitist society. And the Niger Deltans, we can go on. Injustice, sorry.
Yes,
what we
but Muslims have suffered injustice.
Well,
have they not? I don't know, not just Muslims, Christians as well. But the fact that they've actually gone to such extreme measures surely speaks volumes about the kind of conditions they're living in.
Well, if we want to bring this back to Boko Haram specifically, Boko Haram was a political movement that was created in response to political reality. A religious movement that was created in response to political realities. And we have to be very careful not to try and assume that every single person that claims to be operating in the name of Boko Haram actually has a religious agenda, because that's not. That's not the case.
Okay.
There are people that, behind or hiding behind the Boko Haram threat who have very different agendas in mind. And it's very, very important for us not to overstate the power or the will of certain segments of the Nigerian population to engage in an Islamic uprising.
Okay, well, did you hear that comment, Professor? Because the latest we are hearing from Boko Haram leaders, and it's not clear sometimes who is being spoken to, is that they actually haven't done anything for an amnesty to be granted in the first place.
That is very correct.
What are your thoughts on that, Professor?
You see, it's all rhetoric. If Boko Haram says it hasn't done anything to deserve an amnesty, to deserve asking for pardon, it's rhetoric. We've not been honest with ourselves. So the issue of Boko Haram the stage we are now is such that the peace of the country, the security of the country is seriously threatened.
That is very correct.
But the issue is not for Boko Haram alone.
This is the point. That was the point I'm making.
If Boko Haram says it hasn't done anything, we know Boko Haram is a threat to all the Muslims and the Christians in the country, to all citizens. And of course, they have a reason for reacting the way they are reacting.
Sure.
So the amnesty issue will address the question of peace. So it's not a question of whatever we call it. We need peace in the country. We need to dialogue with Boko Haram. Government must come down from its high position. The government must stoop to conquer. Otherwise, this country will burn.
Okay, well, let me bring you in, Alice. I mean, there are words of despair and anger. I mean, how do you address this issue? Because it seems like the Nigerian government is not addressing basic social issues.
Yes, the problem we have is that we do not have effective governance. Nigeria is not being governed. And everyone is very suspicious of everyone else. Everyone is thinking they are worse off than everyone else. And therefore, let me say quickly, that this is why there are sections now, we're now saying Nigeria is not in the interest of the people that make up the country as we see it. Therefore, let us go back to where before the 1914 and restore the authority and the sovereignty of the ethnic nationalities that make up the geopolitical area that is called Nigeria, because we will never be able to solve it. And this is why I'm happy that the Igbos are now in court in Owerri. addressing, because they are taking it through the legal aspect and saying we need to know what our ancestors agreed with Lugard in 1914 that created this monster we are now dealing with. Because I think we need to go to the beginning.
Well, let's go to Adunola, because we can go to the beginning all we want, but we have a president, good luck Jonathan, right now, and some people are cynically thinking that this offer of amnesty is to keep the northern governors and the northern areas happy so that he can have their support in 2015. What are your thoughts on how he's handled the situation?
I honestly think that if he or if the government genuinely believes that that's going to be successful, that's a problem, because I think what happened in the wake of the April 2011 elections, when the entire north of Nigeria went up in arms when it was announced that he won, I think should indicate that that would not succeed in appeasing the northern sentiment. I think that there's also another issue of separating governance and development from amnesty, because those are totally different issues. There is a security threat to Nigeria that needs to be dealt with. And an amnesty program is something that even the Rwandese government used in the aftermath of the genocide. It's something that it is used, but the operational capability of Boko Haram and the people operating underneath them needs to be significantly weakened before that even becomes a reality, where they are still capable of launching counter-offensives. And well, we don't know who was responsible for the killings, but a lot of people died in the Baga massacres. They still have significant capabilities. It doesn't make any sense at this time to be offering them an amnesty in the blanket form. They don't accept it anyway. They don't accept it anyway, but there are ways of trying to structure it, because what you see happening in Nigeria is that the country is becoming dangerously dependent on the military to remain stable. And that can create a whole other set of problems. We're now trying to rebuild a democracy. Now you have the army taking the frontline role in dealing with insecurity. So obviously there are needs to look for non-military ways of trying to arrest the issue, but having an amnesty in place at this time sounds like it would be probably the wrong thing to do.
Okay, well, we are actually going to be looking at more forward-thinking solutions and ways forward, because I think everyone is sick of death and destruction. But we also have some thoughts from you, dear viewer. There are over 6,500 of you on our Facebook fan page, and we really appreciate your support. And the comments this week are only 3 as usual. The first one is from Congomania RTV, and Congomania says, the need is to tackle the core issue. It's a must. And amnesty may work in the short term, but who knows where Boko Haram stands and who's behind them. Let's think deep. Africans are peaceful people by essence. And moving on to some thoughts from Shingi Mushuni, who says that the Nigerian government is corrupt to the core. But Boko Haram's tactics of killing civilians is equally as bad. They both lead to the death of men, women and children, either through bombs or poverty. We need to uproot this insidious corruption that plagues Nigeria and is part